Mm. Hi, everyone. I am Krista Rolando with Relevar Home Care and Livity Care Advocates. And we are on here today with Laura, who is the RN, the Director of Nursing with Randall Residence. And we're going to be talking about memory care today. And Misty is going to be joining us in just a second. But before we go further with Laura from Randall, anybody who doesn't know Relevar Home Care, we are a private duty home care, and we provide care for those who are struggling to maintain independence in their own home. And they may be unsure of what the future holds for themselves or even a loved one. So if you know someone who that sounds like, you can give us a call. Our contact information is up here on the screen. Again, we do private duty home care and also care management. And then we will go to Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here today. So I know that memory care is a big thing out in the communities, and maybe a lot of people don't know exactly what they're looking for if they're, looking to get their family member into memory care, or maybe they don't even know exactly what memory care entails or what it means. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I can. So you're right, memory care is a big avenue. They're like popping up all over the place. But it should be a uniquely designed community that specializes in managing somebody with cognitive impairment. So the challenge with the diagnosis of typically diagnosis of dementia is that it can attack different areas of the brain per person. So a great memory care community really is able to identify where the deficit is in each individual person and then gear their day, their programming is another special word for that, around their stage of dementia, and then also where their functional level is as far as comprehension and memory.
Okay. So are memory cares normally bigger places, or are they like a floor of a facility? What does that look like?
So there's some pretty fancy places out there, big pools and 5 floors and 25-foot ceilings and that. So there are out there, they are out there. It's not my recommendation. I've been doing this a really long time, and the nuts and bolts of dementia is about their ability to process information. So the more information we give them, the more stimuli we give them, the more difficult it is to get information to the pathways that they need it to get. So if you're out there shopping for a memory care, I would definitely look for simplicity. The smaller designed memory care communities provide less stimuli and less information, and therefore easier for your loved one to um, get through the day, get through the day. The goal is just sometimes to get from minute to minute and hour to hour, and the less that they have to be overthinking, the better.
Yeah, I can imagine this could be really overwhelming for a family or, somebody, even if they're moving for the first time into a place like
So
this.
there, it's actually like a diagnosis of move-in trauma or a transitioning. People use the words transitioning. It's very difficult. Like if you can imagine somebody that's going from their house that they lived in 20, 30, 45 years, and they have their dogs buried in the backyard, and they have their rose bush that they got an award from the city, and they have their children's height, marked on the door jamb
Yeah.
in this house, and then all of a sudden something happens and they can't go there anymore. Like that is an actual trauma to their system. Not only is it traumatic for them, the family most likely, right, has their own kids and their own career, and they're running kids to soccer, and they get this phone call to say, your mom can't go home and you have 48 hours to find some place. Here's a
Right.
list, like via email. Like it's just traumatic from all the whole circle, which is why care management is so important. Care management, whether it's care management at the hospital, but care management outside, because there's so many floating pieces and parts and money and where's the right place, like to partner with care management, I think is just way worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Anybody who doesn't know what care management is that we say here it's a patient advocate,
Mhm.
which we feel, and I know Laura, you feel everybody needs someone to be their voice. And, you know, whether that's be in the hospital or in a facility, going on tours, talking to you,
Mhm.
they need somebody who has a second set of ears and eyes and information
I totally
to,
agree. Like the families try to tackle this, and they're really doing the work of like a whole team,
yeah,
and they're trying to do it by themselves. So to um to just get somebody that's been around the block, for lack of a better word, and kind of like knows what to look for, knows what doesn't look for, and kind of like it's like a wedding planner.
yeah.
Takes the stress away, and then just just makes the path smoother. You know, I can't say enough of good things about it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. I see that Misty's on. Hi, Misty. We can't hear you,
She's
Misty.
muted. She's muted.
I'm going to mute myself so we can talk to her.
All right. Yes. Hi. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late. I was in North Country with a client this morning. So I'm so glad that we have you on because, I know we have multiple clients at your community, and I've known your community for probably 6 years, going in there every single week. So I've seen your community transition into, amazing team providing care through, I think, most of the most difficult time, which is COVID,
Yeah.
that we've had. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that if you are looking for a memory care unit, you have to tour the Randall Residence in Auburn Hills. Laura is the nurse there overseeing care, and it's amazing care. And one of the reasons why I want to bring you on is to help people understand memory care. I'm in a lot of communities and I do a lot of tours for families. And I can tell you, like one of the tours I did a couple of weeks ago, the family was really, really high on them. And I just said, I can't put my mom there. I wouldn't put my mom there.
Mhm.
But families a lot of times are looking at different things than, us professionals do when we're actually in and around the communities and observing the communities. So when you think about, let's say you were looking for care for your mom, and I know you touched on a little bit of it. Sometimes people are enamored by how the building looks.
Correct. Right.
And like, no, yeah, okay,
Right.
that's fine. But what's most important is what's happening between the walls, can you kind of talk to us a little bit about, because I know you have a lot of experience in this industry.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that if I was shopping, I definitely would want to interview the nurse. The knowledge, so the nurse creates the quality of the care, creates the model, and from accountability to even just education. So if the nurse doesn't have a background in dementia and they're trying to train their staff to be experts in dementia, that would be like a red flag for me. So oftentimes I think that on a tour path, on a regular tour path in other communities, they kind of just wave at the nurse. And I really think that learning a little bit about the nurse and what the nurse's like goal is for their staff is super, super relevant, because that's the feet on the ground, the boots in the mud kind of thing. So
Yes.
passed over.
Great tip.
But not really at Randall. The nice thing about Randall is it's homey enough that if there's a tour, I know about it, and I go over there and get to spend some time with the families and educate them, and one of the reasons why I work here.
Yeah, I can tell you it's important, at least from a care management standpoint, if something is, going wrong, which, I try and educate families that they will, there's no community that's perfect.
Right.
I really believe it's about how, management deals with it with, let's talk about transparency, and transparency then can get us to the next level, which is fixing it. Cause I think that's all, families don't want to move their loved ones once they get them into a place. They just want to know if there's an issue, when there's an issue, that it just gets fixed. And I think, that's one of the things I love about your team is, how you go about that. But talking to the nurse is a great tip. And really important for one of the tours that I did recently, because I had saw on, one of the things I look at when I'm looking at a new community for a family that I haven't been to, of course, I'm going to go and look at the state website to see if there's any actions on their license, because I'm always looking for a licensed community, I would really prefer that they're licensed. And then, if they do have actions on there, to talk to the nurse. And I can tell you from a recent situation, the nurse wouldn't talk to me at all about the situation, which, somebody at the community was injected with insulin, and it was the wrong resident. So, like I said, to me on that would probably be like on the high end of seriousness. But let's talk it through and talk about, what you did to kind of fix that. But if I don't get that transparency, from the management side of things, I'm probably moving on to a different community.
Right. That's a red flag.
It won't be that I won't. Yeah, it's a red flag. And it won't be that I won't look at it again. Yeah, but I might look at it in a year from now if there's been changes to the team,
Sure.
because things change. So other than speaking to the nurse, what kind of other things, do you recommend?
Well, I think, there's textbook, there's 7 stages of dementia. So stage 1, like I'm a stage 1, right? I forget where my keys are. I leave the milk out. Definitely a stage 1. But then all the way down to 7. So I think a well-run community is able to evaluate what stage they are at, and then design their environment and their programming around groupings of stage. So here at Randall, we have a community that has my 1 through 4s, and then I have a community that's 5, 6, and 7. And the programming is significantly different from a stage 2 to a stage 7, somebody with that has that diagnosis of dementia. They're right down to how they receive meals and redirection and engagement changes. So a community that kind of just puts everybody together, I think, is a red flag for me. That's disservicing the depth that we can get in somebody's day if we're not intentional about what stage they're at. So I would ask.
Right.
I would ask about how people are assigned to one room or another, or a different community, or how that community looks. I would definitely ask.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And I know you guys, have 4 different buildings that you have at the community there. And I, over the years, I've seen some people, come in and try and mesh in. They might be a little disruptive initially, but things kind of settle down after a while because, in the marketplace, your community is unique with the fact that you will take somebody who might be behaviorally, challenging, we would say, but they always seem to settle down after a period of time because do you have psych services at your community as well?
About making sure that we have the right partners in place for each resident. So some people need psychiatry, and that's what I go for. Some family need a special kind of rehab, like Parkinson's related rehab, or some people need more of a one-on-one type of programming versus a group setting. And it just learning the resident, what triggers them, and then working their programming around those triggers. is pretty successful when you're dealing with behavior. So I know that some people won't take them. I just find that sad because when you deal with a disease that involves the brain, you're going to get emotional ups and downs, and looking at it as that's expected, and learning how to deal with it versus thinking that it's abnormal or anomaly. This way just works a little bit better, and they transition and can smooth and have a very happy life as long as we get things in line for them, and just be intentional about where they're at.
Right, right. I was at a community recently that I had mentioned to the family, they were looking for memory care, in the Port Huron area. And I just said, this particular community, it's kind of like a secondary thought, not a primary thought. There was about 270 rooms in this building, probably about 40 memory care, but only 4 residents in that area. And I just said to the family, it's not really a good fit, because it's not a full blown program like, what you guys have, as far as, hey, we're memory care. This is what you guys say. We're memory care.
Yeah.
We know it, we do it well, we know what we're doing.
Yep. Experts in the field. I tell my staff that we are the experts in the field. So there's not something that we can't problem solve around. If we're going to call ourselves an experts, and we're not going to be less than experts, right? Because then we're in the wrong business.
Right. What I love too is that, we've had situations where some of our clients will be actually given eviction notices at their community. And it might be a memory care unit because of their behaviors. And yet, we always look to Randall to say, okay, well, we know, families get very anxious, like, where are we going to go, and we always recommend, going to your community, because you guys know what you're doing, and you can take that kind of behavior and, and then settle it down into, something that's an afterthought. It always amazes me that, a memory care community cannot put measures in place to deal with that when that's normal. We deal with this all the time, occasionally behave. Yeah.
So having the right partnerships is really, really key. And that family's got to be partnered too. So lots of communication with the family, and bring them in, learn how they were before, have the family see that behavior, because sometimes, they're just used to be getting told, right? Like, let's bring them in, make that behavior real, and then get all on the same page, problem solve together. And there really hasn't been a whole lot. Like, I'm not saying I've never given an eviction notice. I have, but it's very, very rare.
Right. Right. Well, we're not going to be 100% in any business,
Right. We'll make sure that we're
even in our business.
Efforts.
Yeah, if we're unable to assist somebody, we're going to let them know, and let them move on and find a place that's better fit for them. But one of the questions I get all the time is, can I stay there through end of life?
Of course you can. Aging in place is key. So anytime that you change somebody with dementia's environment, you re-traumatize their brain. They have to reset. So the goal, or a goal should be, for a memory care to be able to manage aging in place, to lower the trauma that a resident has to go through when their environment gets changed. So aging in place, it goes back to having the right partners, whether it's home care, hospice, the family comes in, one-on-one care, whatever it is that we need to do to allow them to age in place, it should be the goal in anywhere that you choose.
Yeah. You would hope, although, only because I've done a lot of tours lately, I recently had it's one of the questions I ask, can they remain in there through end of life? And you would be surprised how many communities, and these have been the responses. Number one, no, our licensing doesn't allow it. Or number two, yes, they can, but they're going to have to hire home care around the clock to provide that hourly care, which is like, when you're paying for a community and around the clock care, in dollars out of pocket.
Yeah.
So it's good,
So sad.
you know, your community can.
Yep, we can. The nice thing about Randall is that the price point is geared to value, so that if those cases that we have to bring in some outside service, it doesn't break the bank. You definitely have some room there, but the care plan is going to change around that resident, and we're going to be able to adjust our staffing levels around that resident, not to one-on-one, but to meet their changing needs as they go on this life journey.
Mhm. Well, and I'm not against, you know, having the family provide that care. Again, we're just wanting them to be eyes wide open, you know, going into the cost, because they're thinking, oh, we'll be able to stay here and it'll always look like
Right.
this. And, you know, when sometimes it won't, you know, for example, you know, if they have the money, they might, as they're near end of life, they might want to bring in care just so their loved one isn't alone as they're passing through that, you know, that end of life process. But now you also have hospice that comes in, because I know we work with them really close on one of our clients.
Yeah. So that in choosing a hospice, I make sure that I choose one that has a active stage. The hospice that we work with right now is Caroline, and they have pathways. And when somebody is near the end of the life, they change their visits. They change how long they stay. They change how often they come. They change the resources available so that they are more present and prepare the family as that resident transitions. And not every company has that. So I would look for that as well.
Yeah, that's great, because, you know, we'll be interviewing a hospice company in the future, but, you know, because not all hospice companies are the same either.
Correct.
And especially now going through COVID, you know, you almost want to interview your hospice company you're going to work with like you would your, you know, the community for your loved one.
Absolutely.
If you think about it.
I agree. I always encourage at least 2 interviews, because if you don't mesh with the nurse, you're not going to build that relationship, and that you're just going to be disserviced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what about your, you know, activities? How important is it for them to have activities, and what do you guys, you know, typically do?
So to stimulate the brain is super, super, super important when you have somebody with a diagnosis of dementia. So it's also super important to know what stage they're in. Because if you have an activities program that is more advanced than their stage, you're going to see behaviors, frustration, withdrawal, sadness, agitation. I mean, you name it, we could see it all. Or if the opposite is true too. If you under stimulate them to their stage, you're also going to see more health declines. You're going to see them advance maybe faster than they would if they had a program that's at their level or stage of dementia. So to interview or to ask the activities department how they determine their programming is super relevant to picking a community.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Misty, I noticed there's a couple people on the call with us. So I just wanted to say, if you have questions, you can either put them in the chat box, or you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question or make a statement.
Yep, please do. I know, Laura, one of the things that has been really helpful in working with my client and their family has been team meetings with you. And can you kind of explain that a little bit, and, you know, how that, you know, when you do that, how you do that, why you do that?
Sure. Team meetings. So just like the resident, the family is coming from all different levels of knowledge base, all different histories and backgrounds and the whole 9 yards. So part of when somebody moves in, my assessment is kind of like where the family's at and what I need to do to educate them to make sure that they feel alongside me through caring for their loved ones. So family meetings are a large part of what I do here as the director of nursing. Whether that's a phone call every 30 days to explain what changes happen and why they happen throughout the last month, or a weekly call to get a smaller look at, let's say, triggers of behaviors. weekly calls, help that family do that. So whatever that family needs to feel that sense of peace, I provide for them. So I do like evaluation and kind of determine what works for them and provide, I just feel like they're equally part of my job is to take care of that family as well as I take care of the resident. And then we have care conferences. Care conferences are super important. I like to do them a minimum of every 6 months. And that's just a head to toe review, like day to day is one thing. And then a 6-month window of how their loved one is doing is also relevant to know what the next 6 months might look like. I can prepare them. I can have their questions asked. I can stay ahead of the ball, stay ahead of their anxiety and and educate them before they need to be educated, for lack of a better pathline. And then when that loved one does change, they're ready. They're with me. We're ready to go. We got the playbook ready.
I love that. I love that idea, for the playbook, but I think, having you come on to the team there and having, opening up that door of communication, those care conferences and team meetings, because, the client I work with there, has a POA who's very involved. And when I originally took over working with her, when I would tell him she had behaviors, pulling, scratching, hitting, the things, typical thing, he was right. He didn't realize it, but what I've seen over time, it's he's more in a line with understanding exactly where she's at right now and kind of the direction that we're going in. Even though we just put her on hospice, it's made it a little bit easier for him because he's been with us meeting, regularly through, conversation. So you're almost helping him process where we're at right now and where we're going.
Yeah. He needs that. And I just think that it's my job to do that for him, and it helps him. And we're going to work closer together throughout her life.
Yeah. Well, and, with other communities, because I have clients in other communities, that doesn't happen, by the way. Yeah. So, for families that are on and, you're looking for a community that is really invested in helping you understand what's going on and where you're going, this would be a good question to ask. Do you have care conferences? Do you have team meetings? Get to know the nurse. They're the ones that are overseeing that care and working with the caregivers because, I know simple things that we worked on, which is, changing medication or understanding when our client is getting as needed medication and how it might be affecting any behaviors. It just by talking, that's helped inform us as to where she's at.
Yep. It brings it's invaluable. Like, I love it when I get to call a family and see that like light go on and then relax a little bit. Like, that's a great day. That's a great day for me.
Right. Anything else that you think would be important for families to know about, choosing a memory care or, working, let's say they're in a memory care unit now, their loved one is, they're unhappy. They're trying to figure out what to do, how to do it. What do they do? Where do they go? What would you recommend?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. I would recommend not over shopping. I would recommend finding somebody to do that already has done the legwork, like Relevar. It just takes so much of that. They don't know reinventing the wheel, right? You guys already got the wheel. Let's do it, and it kind of streamlines. I recommend taking a tour at different times of the day. I think that when everybody's here between 9 and 5, things usually look pretty good, but I would want to know what it looks like at 7, 6 o'clock after dinner. I think that if I was shopping for my mom, I'd show up at 8, not necessarily for a tour, but just to pop in and say, hey. I'd call after hours. I call during hours, I call after hours, you know. It's a 24-hour operation, so I guess my biggest thing would be to know about what that 24 hours look like.
Great
Yeah, that's
advice.
Yeah. I have to tell this story because I happened to walk in a community not too long ago doing a tour, and I opened the front door and an alarm went off, which means it's a lockdown unit, but the front door shouldn't have opened.
Right.
And I stood there for about 5 minutes with the alarm going off and nobody was around. A few minutes later, a caregiver came running to me and said, "Did you see a resident go out that front door?" I was like, "No, it was just, it was just me. It's okay. The door's locked now, So I sometimes even think about the structure, the organizational structure of the way the building is set up, because they had nobody at the front door.
Yeah.
And I know you guys, every front door at every one of your buildings is somebody manning it,
Yeah. Randall's done a really good job about staying like real. They're very real. The company's very real and they get it. And I think that they just, when somebody moves in the community, they're handing us their trust. And it's 2022, right? You just don't do that easy. And sometimes these families have, like I said, 48 hours to hand over trust to somebody else. That's a huge thing that we just take very, very seriously. And the Randalls do a great job about maintaining that seriousness.
Yes.
But then I teach my staff that they handed us their trust. Now we got to earn it. We got to earn it, and we got to prove it, and we got to keep it. Like that's not something that Randall takes lightly, and I love them for that.
Yeah. Well, in wrapping this up, I want to say, you used to be Harbor Chase. This is what it's been known as in the industry, Harbor Chase, for years, but it was sold, right?
It was. The Randalls bought the Harbor Chase chain, correct.
And what is the history on the Randall? Because I think it's the Randall family, right?
It is. They're family-owned, private, smaller folks. They come to the meetings. They came and seen our new person, and it's just really personal. It's very, very personal. If I could explain them in any other way, they see my heart before they see my mistake, I think, and that they've had run a very successful management operation because they're intentional like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right. And you have this building, but you also have another local building in the Detroit area, or?
Yeah, we have several actually. The Sterling Heights Harbor Chase is now a Randall Residence, and it's been that way for like a couple of years now. And then their groundbreaking kind of building getting up in Brighton. Yes, and I believe we have some on the west side of the states, and then in quite a few in Ohio.
Okay. So it's a growing company, but they really specialize in the memory care area.
Very much so. Yeah, people, people stay at home longer and longer. So I think that when people are ready to leave, it's because of they're forced due to some physical impairment, but most likely it's cognitive impairment.
Yeah. Yeah, great point. Great point. Anything else that you think is important to tell families, either about about memory care or your company that you work for?
Yeah, come see me for sure. I'd love to meet everybody or anybody that wants to come by, even if you're not looking and you just have a question. I'm game to teach. Dementia education is super fun for me, and be safe. Be safe out there.
Yes. All right. That's great. Thank you. Anything else, Krista?
So I just want to go over our next event real quick, coming up on February 3rd, same time at noon on Facebook Live. We are going to be talking about understanding medication dispensing machines. There's a lot of them out there. They have pros and cons, and I think it's important to talk about that with everyone. So that's what we will be doing next.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you coming on, Laura. It was great. Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.